ancient writings, her eyes, she had twisted eyes. And so Laban as well as Leah knew that the chance of recruiting and securing a husband was difficult. Brothers and sisters, Laban and Leah maybe at a devotion one day sat down and they came up with a plan. Because Laban said to himself, you're not going to remain in my hand. We have to devise a plan. And so they devised a plan to help God achieve their dreams and their goal, a husband. Church, let me tell you something. God has a plan for every child of his. Are you listening to me? God has a plan for every one of his children. And therefore, he must have had a plan for Leah's life. But they could not have waited any longer because time was running out. That's the problem, brothers and sisters, with all of us. I say that's the problem with all of us. We love to be in charge of our lives. We love to be in charge of God's plans and goals for our lives. And when things are not going how we think they should go, we love to come up with many ways to help God achieve them. Church, we love to help God. Am I speaking the truth today? When things are not going according to our timeline, it's time to help God. When things are not going according to our wishes, it is time to help God. Oh, brothers and sisters, and many times like Laban and Leah, it doesn't matter how we get what we want once we get it. And therefore, church, it doesn't matter who is hurt in the process of getting it. Because in our selfish ambitions, brothers and sisters, the end result is what matters, and not the process to get what we want. It doesn't matter even if we have to hurt God, even if we have to go against his will and desires, once we get what we want. It doesn't matter who is hurt in the process. The end result is what matters. And so I want a new house. And I've got to do what I've got to do to get it. Are you listening to me, church? It doesn't matter how I get it. Once I get it, I need money. It doesn't matter what I have to do to get it. Once I get it. Oh, I need a fancy car. It doesn't matter how I get it. Once I get it, oh church, I need a church office. It doesn't matter how I get it. Once I get it. And like Leah, I need a husband. And it doesn't matter, women, how I get here. Even if I have to break up another marriage. Even if I have to pretend who I'm not to be. Are you listening to me, church? Even if I have to pretend to be what I'm not, as long as I get a husband, because the end result is what matters and not the process. Oh, church, you know the story. Because Laban and Leah said, we're going to get a husband by any means necessary. And so, brothers and sisters, Jacob, you know the story. Jacob saw Rachel. And like every other man, he fell in love with her. How can I get her? Sat down at the table with Laban and they dialogued. Laban said, you can have Rachel, but you've got to work for me. Desperate for Rachel's love, Jacob agreed to work for Laban 7 years for Rachel's hand in marriage. Oh, brothers and sisters, he toiled and labored for 7 long years. The night of the wedding, dressed to kill. Everybody excited. That night, Laban tricked Jacob by veiling his twist-eyed daughter and sending her into the marriage ceremony. After he took the vows, sealed the marriage, he realized that it was Leah and not Rachel. Church of the living God, desperate for Rachel's love, he sat down at the bargaining table again. And the Bible tells us he agreed to work 7 more years. After 7 years, he got Rachel's hand in marriage. But church, listen to this. Leah, through trickery and going against God's standard, got a husband. But I have news for you now. I say I have news for you now. It's not only the end result that matters. The procedure matters to Jesus Christ. Brothers and sisters, through trickery and deceit, she got a husband, but the Bible tells us she paid for it. Watch this. Watch this carefully. Jacob, through trickery and thievery, brothers and sisters, he paid the consequence. He paid the consequence by being deceived. The deceiver was deceived. He had to labor 14 years for the woman he loved. Leah paid the consequence of her deceit by having to live in a marriage with mentally being tortured. I'm saying to you, therefore, church, sin has consequences. Oh, let me say this one clear again. I'm saying to you, church, sin has consequences. Watch this. Adam and Eve disobeyed God. As a result, they were led from the presence of God. Sin has consequences. Brothers and sisters, watch this carefully. Moses struck the rock when God told him to speak to the rock. As a result, he was kept out of the promised land. Sin has consequence. Are you listening to me, church? Oh, Miriam criticized Moses, his wife, and she believed that she was everything, but she was going against God's standard, against his manservant. As a result, she turned a leper. Sin has consequences. Brothers and sisters, Samson disobeyed God, was unequally yoked with Delilah. The Bible tells us he lost his dignity, lost his credibility, and ended up grinding like a donkey. Sin. Saul disobeyed God, led Israel against God's standard. As a result, he lost his kingship. I'm saying to you, church, sin has consequence. David told the men, look, you guys go ahead for the battle. In his mind, there's a beautiful girl over there. You guys go ahead for the battle. The Bible tells us he slept with Bathsheba, murdered her husband. As a result, God refused to answer his cry, to give him the desire of his heart, to have the son that he loved remain in the land of the living with him. Sin. Yes, sir. If you believe